Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm Keith.
And today we are comparing two cameras, my camera, the Canon 80D,
and my camera, the Nikon D7200.
which is what we're filming on right now.
Now these are both sort of like upper to mid enthusiast level cameras. They're not the worst, they're not the best. They won't break the bank, but they will set you back.
We're at similar settings on both of our cameras. Same ISO, same aperture.
Yeah, we both got 50mm lenses.
Both on the standard picture profiles to get you an idea of what the standards are. We're not gonna color correct any of this footage.
Right.
Just to give you a basic idea of what's the basics here.
Right, auto white balance, that's very important when you're trying to save time, especially in YouTube.
Yep.
You want to be able to, like, you know, you're gonna do some posts, but the less color correction you can do, the better.
Yeah, it's all about the speed, doing those daily vlogs that we totally do.
Yeah, maybe next year.
Thanks, guys. I don't know why I said thanks, guys. We're totally over with the video now.
We're gonna try to get some test shots, talk about the cameras, and compare them.
So my camera, the Canon 80D, it has this very nice flip out LCD screen. You can close it like that, which is nice, or you can flip them around. Now you can see what's being filmed. It's really nice for vlogging because you can be like, hey, I'm Dan and I'm being autofocused, and it's way too close with this lens, but you get the idea.
Now, the Nikon does not have a flip out.
Over here we have a microphone jack, a headphone jack, which is also really good for audio. For if you're doing video, you want to be able to test the sound, which we just did on the shot that we just shot on your Nikon, because you also have a headphone jack. Here we have one memory card slot, whereas I know yours has two.
Yeah, so the big thing about this one, there's two slots. There's the slot one, which is generally for RAW and video, and slot two for the JPEGs, or you can have it for overflow. But the way I have it set up is that I've got RAW and video on slot one and JPEGs on slot two, which is actually really good if I want to edit or if I want to do quick uploads. I get to choose, and there, you know, I got the two cards.
Yeah. Whereas I have my videos, my RAW, and my JPEG all in one drive. Which, I mean, obviously it's nice to have that separation, but it also isn't a huge deal as long as you have a big enough card. On my end, you can just organize it the way you want on the computer, and it hasn't been a huge issue for me yet, but we'll see. I mean, I'm sure other people film and edit it and take so many pictures that it might be more of an annoyance, but...
The other thing too is for people that are like, let's say, a wedding photographer, you have it as a backup. So just in case for whatever reason the card ever fails, you have that so that it's all writing the same thing. But if you have always that backup, the dual cards.
That's a really good point, yeah. My old camera, when you opened it, you had to like pull it open. This one has a little spring. Which is nice. I mean, it's the small things in life that make you happy, right?
So one thing we can talk about when it comes to these cameras is the autofocus. Now the 80D is actually known for having excellent autofocus.
Dual pixel is what they call it.
As they call
There's a whole two of them.
Now I'll say this camera does have autofocus. This is an autofocus lens, but I am typically using manual focus.
And that's mostly a personal preference thing, right?
Right, well it is. It also just is not as good autofocus.
Yeah.
So what I'll do now is I've been kind of manually focusing here. And the dog obviously is going to be moving around. It's going to be a challenging subject. But let me now switch this from manual to automatic, which is a little press button lock. So you know, it knows when it's going between. So now it's going to do, but it does this hunt. It kind of does this back and forth jumpiness. It's not super fast, it's not super slow, but it has that like push forward and come back. Which is awkward for videography. Definitely would not recommend autofocus videography with this camera because of that. You know, if it's a still picture, that's fine, no one's going to see that. But when it comes to a video, you want it to look good, and when it goes back and forth like that, that's not good filmmaking. So what I'll do, I'll switch it back.
And I wanted to also throw out that, so right now as I'm filming Keith, I've been using the facial tracking autofocus on this camera as he moves back and forth, looking at Moogie, looking at me, and it's been doing a very nice job, and you have a little square right on his head following him back and forth.
Whereas here, I'm gonna kind of do this gentle, and I am gonna do a little back and forth, but my movements are less jerky. I might not get it quite on point each time, but from a cinematic standpoint, you want to have that kind of slower and kind of more natural push and pull of the focus.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, on this camera, there's a lot of different varieties of autofocus, and I haven't even really messed with all of them. I'm mostly using this tracking one right now, which you can both automatically follow faces, but you can also tap things on the touch screen. Is yours touch screen?
No, that's the other thing. It's not touch screen.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning. You can also touch things on the touch screen here to focus on them. So right now I just touched on Moogie. It's following Moogie's movements. Moogie's very happy. to be followed by this beautiful camera. And now, interestingly, so I moved away from Mugi, and now it's following Keith's arm. Not sure why that happened. It's, oh my god, it totally was doing that, and then it found your face again and gave up.
So both these cameras, they have this little display up top. You can actually see your basic settings right there. You don't have to have the actual display on. You can see your shutter speed, your ISO, your aperture, all that ready to go. So both for video and for shooting, it's a great little feature to have right there.
Nice to be able to see your battery level. Mine's getting low. And the amount of pictures you have left to take and all that stuff, and then you can go through these various options up here and cycle through them with a nice dial there. And you can also turn on a nice little light, which I don't know how well you can see right now, but at nighttime it's nice to have a little light to be able to easily read that.
This camera is older than the 80D. They're in about the same bracket, but this camera was replaced by the time that I got it. I wanted to save a little bit money. I didn't need the 4K. I opted for this very solid camera, and my big thing was the lenses. I like the fact that I can take a Nikon lens from anytime from like the 70s onwards. It will go on here. I'm all about manual focus. This is a modern lens for a comparison's sake, but I'm about vintage lenses on this camera, not the newest, not the oldest. That's what makes me happy. Dan, you got the autofocus. That's very important too. I almost bought the 80D.
Yeah, I mean, I film myself a lot for a lot of the solo like reaction video content, and autofocus is really important for that. What is happening?
Yes.
So
the family's together again.
So now we've moved into the dark hallway. There are no windows here. As you can see, Dan is very dark. There's one overhead light. We're still at ISO 800 f4. What I'm going to do is start bringing up the ISO, and we'll see how loud it's going to get. So I'm at 1000, 1250, 1600, 2000, 2500, 3200, 4000. So this is, I'm actually going to bring it back down, I think, to 3200. Shutter speed 60, 30 frames per second, f4. Now I'm at ISO 3200. I can see you. It doesn't look hugely great, but it also doesn't look like 100% garbage. So, you know, this camera can go quite up. So if I bump this up, 4000, 6400, 8000, 10,000, 12,800, 16,000, 20,000, and so let me just keep, so the highest is going right now, and the normal range is 25,600. Let me now kind of take down, make the correct exposure, let's say around f8. So now you can see it's very noisy at 25,600, but you would expect that, you know. Really, generally, we're not use this unless we're filming at night, and it's better to get the shot than to get nothing at all. So now I'm going to switch sides, and I'm going to stand where you are standing, and I'm, you know,
flippity floppy. Bringing it up, you were at about 3,200, right?
I brought you 3,200.
3,200 is okay. I mean, like, I can definitely see you well, and it's not like what I'd want it to be at necessarily. I might want it to be 4,000 feels a little bit better to me. And then you also, then you brought it all the way up as far as you can, which I think yours goes farther than mine. I think mine's about 12,000. You brought the thing up to aperture up to 8 with the highest ISO, right? So that, you know, it's, I actually wouldn't bring it all the way up to 8 at my highest ISO. I might bring it up
also
to
because you have a lower.
That's so I might bring it up to maybe like a 5.6.
Now I'm at the top of the range that Dan could go to, 12,800 ISO. I'm at f5.6. It's pretty noisy. I personally wouldn't use it if it's noisy. But what I would do instead, I would bring it down and then bring down the f-stop. So now we are at f2 ISO 2000. Now you can see it looks fairly usable, not great, but the depth of field is a lot shallower at f2. So I, especially because I'm manually focusing, I have to play around. Every time Dan moves, he might get out of focus. So where Dan has the autofocus, you know, and maybe it looks a little bit better at this higher ISO, being a newer model camera, here I kind of have to play the game a little bit with it.
Should I move a little bit?
Yeah, so you move it, so now you're out of focus. Come a little closer to me. I have to kind of bring it in. You know, it's not terrible. You know, I can do it. It won't look horrible. I can go from the tip of the mic to Dan's glasses, to the tip of the mic, to Dan's glasses, to the tip of the mic.
All right, f2 2000 ISO, and it was able to figure out where you were again because it's nice and brighter, has a nice focus on your face, and yeah, it looks pretty good. Do you want to walk up and down the hallway and get a little idea of the autofocus? Right. So it found you all the way back there without me touching it. It's following your face as you come, and you know, it's doing an okay
Step
job.
over the move.
Now we're a little too close, and now it's struggling because it's dark. All right, something worth noting that we haven't said yet is that a lot of my stuff is going to be less stable than Keith's because he's using a tripod. But that's not indicative of the camera.
So here we've got some pretty ideal light. It's 7:43 in August. We've got the sun just setting behind us. We're at ISO 200 at f5.6. It really shows the strengths of it right there, you know.
True.
The 80D, autofocus, huge strength. Color science in the right light, great strength. Nikon, the strength is lenses. And we didn't really get into it, maybe we'll save it for another video, is kind of the stills. You know, this does have higher ISO, but is it usable higher ISO? I don't really think so. I would never go up that high. At the end of the day, it really is what you're interested in. You know, for me, the lenses were important. I wanted to get the old lenses. I like manual focus. I don't care about autofocus. You know, Dan's got the flip out screen. He's got the really nice face tracking autofocus. It's great. It's not hunting. It's not pushing and pulling like crazy. So if you're looking for that vlogging camera, or you like autofocus, go for the 80D. If you like old lenses, go for the Nikon.
Great. You doing okay, Key?
So. That's good branding. Oh, shoulder to shoulder. Oh, shoulder to shoulder. Right, yeah. So my camera